Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about the Washington Commanders having a top 30 visit with Ohio State wide receiver Garrett Wilson and Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton. I'll talk about if I think these are possibilities at 11, which one do I like more, and we'll give you guys a quick breakdown of each player. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 7,500 subscribers. So please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. And go ahead and follow the Twitter, trying to get to 1,000 followers on there. Now, let's get right into the video. Okay, so let's start off with Garrett Wilson. And I really haven't talked about Garrett Wilson too much on the channel because I really don't think he's going to be there at 11 because I think he is the best receiver in this draft, and a lot of people think so as well. You know, I think he's likely going to be taken by either Atlanta Falcons or the New York Jets, but there's still a chance that he could drop to 11 because there's a lot of teams that need pass rushers and offensive linemen, and there's a lot of good players that, you know, could get drafted in the top 10. They're offensive linemen and defensive linemen, so he could be there, and Washington is clearly interested in drafting a receiver in the first round, if not the first round, the second round. They've met with a lot of the top guys, including Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Drake London and Garrett Wilson recently, and John Mechie, another guy who could be in the second or third round. So let me read this right here from Jordan Schultz. He said, Ohio State football wide receiver Garrett Wilson just finished his visit with the Commanders per source. Wilson, according to one GM I spoke with, is one of the best receivers I've evaluated over the past 5 years. Speed, route running, hands, can break the game open at any time. Garrett Wilson is one of my favorite prospects in this draft. I would be very, very happy if the Washington Commanders ended up drafting him at 11, or if they traded back and got one of the other top receivers. But in my opinion, Garrett Wilson is the top receiver in this class. Real quick, let's go over some of the things, you know, about Garrett Wilson. So let's first start off with his stats. This past season, 70 catches, 1,058 yards, averaged 15.1 yards per catch, had 12 touchdowns. Also was used in the run game a little bit for, you know, not really that much, but this just shows his, you know, big playability. 4 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown. Also used as a punt returner as well. So if Washington drafted him, that's another way that he could be used to help them out. Kickoff, not so much, but, you know, he, you know, did a decent amount of punt returns. Had 13 where he actually ran, but that doesn't even count the fair catches and everything. So, you know, Garrett Wilson can pretty much do it all. He can play in the slot for you. He can play on the outside. I think Matt Bowen from ESPN compared him to Stephon Diggs. And I mean, I think Stephon Diggs is a much better route runner than Garrett Wilson. And I still think Garrett Wilson is a very good route runner, but I do kind of like that comparison. Garrett Wilson, though, great release, especially, you know, on those inside routes, has good hands, you know, good at those contested catches. And that's something Carson Wentz really likes in his receivers. He's very quick. I mean, a lot of people were knocking him in terms of his speed, comparing, you know, to Chris Olave. But if you look at the 40 time, he actually ran a faster 40-yard dash time than Chris Olave. And obviously the 40 isn't everything, but there isn't that much of a difference between those two in terms of speed. He is a yards after catch machine. I mean, he, you know, you give him the ball, he's going to get you 10, 15 yards. Super shifty, can break tackles. I mean, he is what you want in a receiver, and he's a solid route runner as well. Talk about the release, and he is a solid blocker. 6 foot, 188 pounds, and, you know, great route running is definitely one of the, you know, it's probably the most important asset, and he has that as, you know, he definitely has that, but he also has that, you know, big playability and that yak ability, and that is what you want, especially in these smaller, quicker receivers. You look at last year, like Jalen Waddle, who, you know, was the second receiver drafted. He had a great year, and he's a good route runner, but he's more known for his speed and his yards after the catch. And he had over 1,000 yards in his rookie season. Jamar Chase can do, you know, a bit of everything, but he's not necessarily known for his route running. He uses his speed, strength, and yak ability to just destroy people, and he had like over 1,400 receiving yards as a rookie. Just absolutely insane. And you look at Devontae Smith, who did have a good year, but he's more known for his, route running coming out of the draft, and, he didn't produce as much as those other two, and, more likely than not, because of his QB play, they don't pass as much as those other teams, but still just something I thought I would, note, because a lot of people think that, these yak guys aren't going to do much in the NFL, but actually, it's not Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, he had a very successful season, basically getting these short passes and turning them into longer gains. So I really, really think Garrett Wilson can be successful in the NFL. And if I had to, between Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, I think Garrett Wilson is a much better prospect. I do think Chris Olave fits a little bit more in Washington because he's more of a true outside receiver, and then you could have him on the outside, Curtis in the slot, and then Terry on the outside. But I think Garrett Wilson, I still would pick Garrett Wilson over Chris Olave if I'm Washington, but I do think the fit is a little bit better with Olave. But Garrett Wilson, he can play on the outside, he can play in the slot, can do whatever you want him to do. 6 foot, about 192 pounds, a little bit heavier than what ESPN listed him at. His 40 time, incredible, 4.38 40-yard dash. The vertical jump is there too, 36-inch vertical jump. Not amazing, but very, very solid. So real quick, let's go ahead and look at the overview. So Wilson's game is lacking in polish, but some scouts believe his play strength and run after catch ability make him a more valuable draft commodity than Ohio State teammate Chris Olave. He's a linear inside-outside and is very inefficient with routes over the first two levels. His long speed is good, but the acceleration burst is what makes him such an effective separator in space. He might not be smooth getting there, but he has eye-popping ball skills when it's time to go make a play. Wilson needs to work on his ability to consistently uncover on all three levels, but he has traits to become a very good wide receiver too if he tightens up areas of concern. So it seems like he's a little bit lower than most people are on Garrett Wilson, but I think Garrett Wilson can be a wide receiver one. Obviously, he wouldn't necessarily be the best receiver on the Commanders, but you can have two number one receivers on a team, and I think he would be very, very, very valuable for the Washington Commanders. You look at some of the strengths: had 27 catches and over 371 yards and 6 touchdowns over his last 3 games. So finished off really, really strong. Deceptive speed seems to surprise single coverage. Instant acceleration creates his plays fast profile. Shows feel for mixing up speed inside the route. You guys can read some of the other things here. Hands are instinctive, sudden, and strong. You guys can see some of the other things. Weaknesses: takes off without a clear route plan. Route running is raw and segmented. Sloppy footwork in and out of intermediate break points, and suffered from focus drops near the sideline. So definitely gonna need some developing, but I think we have, we'll see. Let's see if Drew Terrell can do it. He's new to the, in terms of being a wide receiver coach. I believe last season was his first year. So let's see what he can do with any of these first round receivers if we end up drafting them. But I think someone like Garrett Wilson, he is raw. Like a lot of these things, like, footwork, some of the, some things in terms of his route running that you can improve are definitely things that you can improve. His speed, those things aren't things you can develop at the next level. Those are things that you already have before then. You can't teach speed and some of these other things he has. So I think that at first it might take him a while to be at that level where he is like a Stephon Diggs, which is again kind of his ceiling. But there's ways, because of his yak ability, where you can give him a few screens and he can get you those yards. He can be an impact player right away, just like Jalen Waddle was last year. So now the other player that we're going to be talking about, Kyle Hamilton, who is another top player for me and in terms of who I want Washington to draft. It gets him, Kyle Hamilton, and Garrett Wilson. So I love that we're meeting with these two players. So Ian Rappaport said the Commanders are hosting Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton today, source said, as they look at possible first-round selections. Washington picks number 11, and it's a long shot he is there, but they are doing work in case. And I mean, I don't know if it's that much of a long shot anymore. I see a lot of mock drafts with Kyle Hamilton outside of the top 10, and I see a lot of rumors that he probably will fall out of the top 10, and we could be the first team, be the kind of his ceiling. I don't think that's the case. Like, I could definitely see him go like to the Giants at 7. I hope that doesn't happen, but I definitely think he can fall out of the top 10, and right now I think he will be there at 11 for the Washington Commanders. So, I mean, you've heard me talk about Kyle Hamilton a ton on this channel, so I won't talk about him too much, but I'll give you guys a quick overview. So, Kyle Hamilton played at Notre Dame, obviously 6'4", 220 pounds. This past season, had 3 interceptions, was out for a while though with a knee injury at the end of the season, but he's all good right now. Had over 30 tackles the year before, had 1 interception, and in his freshman year had 4. And I mean, he is just an animal. If you do watch the film, like, I know a lot of people are starting to hate on Kyle Hamilton, or just they aren't even watching the film, but they're just hearing what other people are saying without actually seeing it for themselves and saying he's just a box safety, he can't do anything else. And he might not be your traditional free safety, but he still definitely can play free safety in the NFL. I think at least he does have the traits to do so, but he might be better suited for the box, and I think he can do both. He can do both. You can have him in, the box for some snaps and have him at free safety for the others. We have a very versatile, DB group in terms of, like, Kendall Fuller can play in the slot if you need him to. Bob McCain can, slide down and play into the slot. Cam Curl can also play free safety as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this DB room. The 40-yard dash time wasn't great. It was a 4.59 40-yard dash. The more concerning thing was his pro day 40 time. Who knows if that knee injury is still, bothering him a little bit. And, but Justin Simmons, I think he ran like a 4.6, so not a huge deal in my opinion. The 3-cone drill isn't great though, so that's a little bit, concerning, but not too bad. And the vertical jump is great, 38 inches. And let's look at his NFL comparison. Is Cameron Curl. So, I mean, not Cameron Curl, sorry, Cam Chancellor. And so let's look at some of his strengths. Enormous safety with frame for more muscle mass. Versatility, plays safety in any scheme or alignment. Urgent, competitive, physical, and football smart. True intimidator over the middle. Run through power to obliterate pass catchers. You guys can see the rest right here. But from watching him, I mean, he almost never misses tackles. He almost never misses tackles, especially in open space. I did not really see him miss any tackles in open space. Always made him, and just made big plays. Just made big plays for Notre Dame. And I mean, he has good hands as well. Doesn't drop too many interceptions, which is something you want. I mean, Bob McCain, he had 4 interceptions last year, but he probably dropped like 6 or 7. It would not, probably more than that, probably like 10 interceptions that he dropped. And of course, Kyle Hamilton is very versatile, can pretty much play anywhere you want him to on the defense, except for like D-line, interior defensive line. But he's a big hitter, and he can rush the passer if you need him to as well. I think they didn't use him that much at Notre Dame in terms of rushing the passer, but I think he does have the traits to do so at the next level. So if we do draft him, Jack Del Rio needs to be creative with him for sure. And then you look at the weaknesses. Height is a natural barrier for change of direction. That is definitely one of his biggest weaknesses. His change of direction, his inability to cover those smaller slot receivers, but he can cover those bigger receivers / tight ends, and that's kind of the way you have to use him. Lacks short area burst and quickness to cover smaller slot targets. Can be spun around by routes in space. Elevated pad level as face-up tackler. And then the sources tell us, really great kid, needs to love the weight room a little more, but he's going to keep getting bigger. I wouldn't play him at linebacker because I think that actually limits his impact. He's a better pure talent than Arizona Cardinals linebacker Isaiah Simmons was coming out, a scouting director for an NFC team. So I think regardless of what position Kyle Hamilton plays at the next level, he is going to be an absolute animal. Another thing I love about Kyle Hamilton is that his idol growing up was Sean Taylor. So another bonus for Kyle Hamilton. So hopefully Washington considers drafting him, and I think he might be there. I think whatever happens, Washington is going to have a bunch of quality players there waiting for them at 11. Whether that is Garrett Wilson, Kyle Hamilton, I think Chris Olave is going to be there, Drake London, like one of those guys is going to be there. And this is something from John Keim. He talked about some of the, visits, but he said Hamilton and London are strong, I tell you, possibilities at 11. Fill desired holes. Winfrey would be after the first round, talking about a defensive lineman that they're meeting with. So, we'll see. I think those are two possibilities at 11. I like Garrett Wilson more than London, and I like Jameson Williams more than London, but London is a very, very solid receiver. Would not be upset if we drafted him at 11. So let me know what you guys think. I'm liking the players that they're visiting with. Think they should maybe visit with some more, second, third round receivers if they end up going at Kyle Hamilton in the first round, though. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.